The safety of our loved ones, it's never been more top of mind. Which is why, for many families, the Drive with Safety app has never been more reassuring.
Phew.
It lets you know where every driver in the family is located. Plus, families that use the Drive with Safety app can save 5% in their auto policy while benefiting from information that can help improve each driver's performance. Ask an independent agent about safety insurance. We'll help you manage life's storms.
B-Pod Studios.
Right now.
It's like they're all on laughing gas.
If you want to do something big this summer, drive change in the community and drive off in a brand new car when you enter Big Sister Boston's 33rd annual car raffle. It's a win-win for you and the girls of Greater Boston. Purchase your raffle ticket today for the chance to win a 2021 BMW 403i convertible from Herb Chambers BMW of Boston or $40,000 in cash. Winner's choice. Visit bigsister.org through July 28th to purchase your raffle ticket. That's bigsister.org to win.
Right now.
It's like they're all on laughing gas.
It's Toucher and Rich.
Slow. Yeah, everything's in slow motion.
Boston's home for sports.
These are the kind of people that take snoozes under trees.
98.5, the Sports Hub.
98.5, the Sports Hub. We're Toucher and Rich. Bert Breer is the senior NFL reporter and lead content strategist for the MMQB. He joins us on the Volkswagen Dealers Expert Hotline. You know, Lockhart, do you know where the Wallach Wednesday those beds are? Because maybe we didn't do it on Wednesday because Wallach wasn't here. Maybe we should drop in some Wallach Wednesday stuff.
Yeah.
Give it for the people, New Jack Swing.
All for it.
You can New Jack Swing on my nuts. Bert Breer, have you figured out how you're going to get off Nantucket?
No. Well, we're on standby for a 9:15 ferry, and if that doesn't work, we're booked on the noon.
That's not happening.
I don't. Yeah, so the noon's probably not happening. And we got 3 kids, a dog, and a car, like literally packed. So, you know, my oldest has to, you know, like climb into the back seat like he's, you know, from that movie's Free Solo. So, like, if we don't make the boat, I don't know what the hell we're going to do. We'll see. It should be an adventure today.
As it gets later in the day, I would think all planes and boats would be canceled, right? So, I mean, this is it.
I mean, honestly, like the two biggest problems are the car and the dog. The car means we can't leave very easily. Otherwise, we would have bailed last night. But obviously, you aren't getting off, you know, when everybody's trying to get off. And then the dog obviously would probably limit any place we'd be able to stay tonight if we had to stay tonight. So we'll see what happens.
Well, you could always just let the dog roam the beach. I mean, if it has the chip, you can just and then go, oh, no, we've lost the dog. Could you ship it back to me? But listen, these are when you go out to the wayward islands, when you go out adventuring to these far and away islands, these are the hazards that you run up against. So,
right. Yeah, I think so. I think other people have bigger problems than me, but today could be interesting, definitely.
All right. Well, have you seen if you could spend the night where you were one more night?
That's what everybody's saying to us. Like, oh yeah, you know, like, well, if you can't get off, then the people coming and staying in this house probably can't get on. We brought it up. We just asked the realtor what our options are. And she didn't bring that up, so I'm thinking that the place we have right now might not be an option. But we're still here right now. So.
Well, stay with the realtor.
Perfect. Or we could just squat on the property, right?
Or Rich isn't home.
That's
you can
right.
go to Rich's house.
Oh, there you go. Does he hide a key under the doormat or something?
There's no paranoia in it.
At home?
There's no paranoia in his life. I'm sure that it's easy to access that house.
Actually, I'd like to see that happen.
Considering he lives in total fear of
story
of like some psycho fan or something coming after him. That would be interesting though, because I would because he's out at amusement parks and stuff, I guess, this weekend. So I would call Rich. I'd say, listen, I open up for business. I'll break a window. Do you have an alarm on the place?
Yeah. Well, I'm just hoping to get on the 9:15 boat. Drastic situation could cause a call for drastic measures, but we're not there quite yet.
Well, to make you feel better, Good Morning America's on. They've only canceled 62 flights from Nantucket so far, so you'll be all right. There you go.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll be okay. And I'm sure if we get out on the boat, it'll be I'm sure my kids will handle that well too.
Well, I'm sure you'll handle. You put a guy who's worked in the Bering Sea on a boat that's moving like that. They're not going to like it. I've been on those before. I went on to one to Block Island, and my kids were freaking out, which helped me distract me. I mean, I didn't think I was going to die, but I mean that thing was cooking. Like you had to brace yourself, so at the end, like your muscles killed. Because you had to physically brace yourself the entire
happened to me
ferry
when
ride.
I was a kid and I went to Martha's Vineyard with my family. I had one of those trips. That's only 45 minutes. How long is the boat from Nantucket?
You'll never forget those. I had one when I think it was 13, 14, coming back from the Vineyard over Labor Day weekend.
Yes.
And it was a just disaster. Yeah.
Because that's the difference. Because if you're on a fishing boat, first of all, you're in control of it, and second of all, they can maneuver it around a little bit and try to get you in a little bit calmer water. The ferries, just here we go.
Here's a quick story. Those ferries that go from wherever I think we left from Vineyard Haven back to Woods Hole, they have that cutout hole in the front of the boat. My father was first on the boat, and so he's up at the front near that hole. So I am up top, and the boat's rocking back and forth. I'm going to throw up, whatever the case. But Dad's like, go wait in the car. So I go. He sent me to the car. I'm sitting in the car alone, and I see all these waves crashing around. It was one of the worst experiences of my life, watching the boat try to cut through that.
Yeah, I remember thinking the one I was on. So we'd normally take that big ferry, whatever, from Vineyard Haven or Oak Bluffs when I was a kid. But we, for one reason or another, that weekend, and it might have been because the other ferries were canceled. We took this much smaller ferry from Edgartown just to get off the island.
Yes.
And I will never. I like now. Of course, I'm 13 years old, so I don't know any better. But I really thought we weren't making it. Like I thought there was, and I will never forget that one.
Yes.
The boat from here, by the way, because the car ferry is much slower than the fast ferry, is 2.5 hours. So it's going to be, if we get on, it'll be interesting.
Well, they serve booze, so you'll be all right. All right.
No, all concessions closed now, by the way, just so you know.
Oh, because of COVID?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
boy.
COVID.
Well, pack a cooler.
Oh, man.
All right. Well, I'll tell you this, Bert. N'Keal Harry he's got the world by a string. He is none too happy about his role with the Patriots. And does that speak at all to Belichick's control of the team? Do you think this is pissing Belichick off, or do you think he just doesn't care?
I think he senses that he's probably not going to make the team and doesn't care because of that. You know, like he just probably figures, am I going to have a better shot at making a team if I demand a trade now and try to make them make a move on me now? Or am I going to have a better chance of making a team if I get cut at the end of August and I'm on the waiver wire with 1,000 other players? And you see this sometimes, but I do think to some degree the writing's on the wall. It's going to be more difficult for him to make the team this year. He's not on scholarship anymore like he was as a first-round pick the last couple of years. And, with Kendrick Bourne having made some money, with Jacoby Myers coming back, obviously Nelson Aguilar is going to have a prominent place in the team making what he's making. I think all you got to do is look at the math, and you can see where if N'Keal Harry isn't playing a major role on special teams, he probably isn't going to make the team as a receiver. And so I think, to some degree, if you're him right now, you're pushing the subject because you think maybe you got a better chance to carve out a role somewhere else if you catch on somewhere else right now instead of a month and a half from now.
Is he an NFL receiver for anybody?
Yeah, the biggest question with him coming out, and you guys probably remember this, was can he separate, right? It wasn't, size. It was purely, can he get away from the defender? Have we seen that at all over 2 years?
No.
Right. I mean, nothing looks easy for him, right? And as a first-round pick, that's generally a trait with a first-round pick is certain things look really easy to them because they've got some sort of elite physical trait, some sort of elite athletic trait. And outside of his size, I don't see it. And so I think, if you look at him, he'd have to go to a place where he'd have a very specific role. I mean, I heard some people say Arizona. The one thing about DeAndre Hopkins is that you've got to be really fast around DeAndre Hopkins because he isn't that fast. That's the one thing he isn't. So that's why you see teams that have him, like Will Fuller in Houston. The Cardinals draft Andy Isabella this year. They drafted Rondale Moore. That'd be the kind of team where you look at it and say, I don't know if it'd be good for him to go there because they've already got one guy who's got the same problems he does. So I think, if he's going to catch on somewhere, it's going to have to be in a place that has a very specific spot for him. And I think that's probably why his agent and him carved out the statement the way that they did with the language that they did the other day.
Hey, Burr, weren't you the guy that mentioned that, Bill Belichick wasn't listening to the scouts? And
yeah.
This was his pick. And, personally, I don't know if Belichick will just move on from a guy like this because that was his pick. And, This has been a different year, right? Stephon Gilmore's holding out. Harry's asking for a trade. Like, things are a little different here. But wouldn't this be the guy that Belichick wants to make this team?
I think that what's interesting about it, though, Joe, is this is the year things have changed. And I think N'Keal Harry sort of became the poster child for what the problem had been. They went to fixing scouting this year. And I know for a lot of scouts that went through there, N'Keal Harry kind of stood up as the example of everything that was wrong with the way the Patriots had drafted over the last few years. Bill was listening to one of his college coaching friends. He's very close to Todd Graham. That's N'Keal Harry's college coach. B, Bill basically values his own experience with the player over anyone else's experience. So all that work the scouts did on N'Keal Harry was superseded by the fact that Harry had a really good in-house visit in Foxborough. He came up to Foxborough and knocked the visit out of the park. Now, what's interesting about that is that a lot of the scouts had said to him, this kid has some con man in him. This kid will fool you. And that's just about exactly what happened. And so, I think like for a lot of the guys who've gone through there and been through the scouting department there, N'Keal Harry was the example of how the Patriots have made mistakes over the last 4 or 5 years, which has put the roster in the spot that it's in. And Bill finally addressed that this year, right? So if Bill finally addressed that this year, you'd think that maybe he'd be a little bit more willing to move on from a guy who was part of the problem.
It's funny because we had Phil Perry on earlier this week, and he was talking about, we didn't even bring up the scouting portion of it, but he was talking about how N'Keal Harry, I'm putting words in his mouth, was soft, that like in practices that he would, he was coming out all the time and visiting the trainers. And then after he was with the trainers, he'd go make some diving catch. You could tell he probably wasn't really that banged up. So that really was a con job because, not only is he physically not able to separate and do things that you need on the field, apparently he's also not a great character guy. So,
well, here's the thing. Here's what's interesting about it, too, Fred, if you add all of it up. So think about Larry Fitzgerald, right? Like Larry Fitzgerald, the knock on him coming out, this is obviously a way different example, but Larry Fitzgerald was a guy who couldn't separate, right? Anquan Bolden, a guy who can't separate. Jarvis Landry, a guy who can't really separate. What do those guys all have in common? All those guys are tough as nails, right? Like every last one of them. So if you're going to be one of these guys who can't separate, who's going to be a contested catch guy, who's, going to have to play in traffic, so to speak, like you have to have that trait. And if you don't have that trait, well, then you're a guy who, I don't know where your place is in the NFL, right? And it's one thing to be jumping over a corner in college where, the rules and the way the game is played is a little bit differently. It's another thing to do it in the NFL. And, I don't think we've seen that trait that, like, everybody looked at with N'Keal Harry coming out. We haven't seen it, like, really on a consistent basis at all in the NFL. And we'll see if you can bring it out of him. But I don't know that toughness is something that you can just coach into a player.
All right, we're going to keep Bert for one more break as he tries to navigate the salty sea off the coast of Nantucket while he and his family wait out the tropical storm that is trapping them on the island. A dream turned to a nightmare for the Breer family as they wait this storm out. All right, Bert, we'll be back. One more break with you. We'll be right back.
98.5, the Sports Hub.
Hey, it's Maz for DraftKings, where they have basketball, hockey, golf, and so much more. DraftKings, the leader in one-day fantasy sports, here to put you in the center of the action with millions of dollars in total prizes up for grabs all week long. Download the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app now, use the code SPORTSHUB, and for a limited time, new customers can get a free shot at millions of dollars in prizes this week. Again, the code SPORTSHUB to get a free chance at millions with your first deposit. Only at DraftKings.
$5 plus required eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
get you going.
That's a difficult thing to get through.
Every day.
That is 4 hours of conversation.
Toucher and Rich on 98.5, the Sports Hub.
All right, this is Full Force.
Ain't my type of hype. It's from House Party.
Well, I know.
Okay.
I know all about that, my friend.
Can you do the dance? The Kid and Play?
I can't do the Kid and Play dance, no. That was the dance-off with Tisha Campbell in the movie. Yeah.
How many times did you try to jump over your leg?
I tried that when I was younger. Failed miserably.
Could you do it, Joe? You were an athlete.
No. I could try the other one, though. We could, kick feet and...
Oh, wow.
Well, yeah, I mean, we could
That's
just
target practice.
If we get reined in today, we could just start a whole routine and put it up on Twitch. Because when we leave here, it's going to be we're going to be in the Dorchester flooding zone,
floating home. That's true.
Yeah, so if we get trapped here, I'll slash all your tires if my tire's down, and and we'll sit around and learn how to dance.
You can video that.
That's right. Bert Breer from MMQB joins us for one last break here. All right, every week we talk to you about Stephon Gilmore, but one thing I thought was interesting is the rest of the league is looking at the Patriots and saying, well, they can't. They got to sign him because they don't have any cornerbacks. So I know they have J.C. Jackson, but they don't have enough without him. Is that a fair assessment? Is that what you're hearing?
I don't know why that would prevent the league, the rest of the league, from calling and making those calls.
Because you guys have heard that too, right? People have been reporting that the rest of the league is just like, well, they don't have enough.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more. I mean, for the rest of the league, I think it's more about his age, and his contract situation, and that's sort of where the Patriots have painted themselves into a little bit of a corner here, in that he's turning 31 years old, and he's only got a year left on his contract. So you're basically, if you're another team, trading for a player who you either have for a year or you're going to have to pay. The comp I think I used with you guys last week was Darius Slay, which is about $16 million a year. And I think for a lot of other teams, it's, if we're going to do that, we're not also going to give you a first-round pick. Maybe we'll give you a 3 or something like that. And so I think that's what's driven down his value. And then, you flip it on the other side, and if you're the Patriots, is it worth moving on from Stephon Gilmore when you spent everything that you spent, for a third-round pick next year?
Right.
No, right.
So they're pretty much trapped. All right, listen.
It kind of traps them, and I think that's why. I think that's why the solution here is probably going to be something like what we saw with Gronk and Brady at the end. Where they got those incentives built into their deal, where technically not a pay raise, but they put some stuff in the contract that's pretty easy to reach that allows the player to get a raise.
All right, we played a clip yesterday from some NFL Network thing with McVay and Shanahan talking, and Shanahan and McVay were joking about how Shanahan wanted Stafford, and Shanahan was just coming out and saying it. So what was interesting about hearing that, though, is both those guys are younger than me. And just hearing them talk and how candid they were and just the way they talk. And I know they're total football nerds, and McVay is, let's not pretend they're Fonzie. But just hearing those guys talk, how much different is it between a guy like Belichick now and these younger coaches? Because just hearing them speak, it's polar opposites.
It's a totally different generation. If you look at the age difference, that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Bill's about 30 years older, I think. Well, so Bill was born in 52. Yeah. So Bill's almost 30 years older than Kyle, easily old enough to be Kyle's dad. And the age gap's even bigger between him and McVay. Right. So I just think it's, those guys, and I think part of, and they've done a great job with that podcast. I think part of the reason you have McVay host that podcast is so you have the other guys who come on there, they feel comfortable and they are candid. And that's the way a lot of those guys do talk. But I think a lot of those guys, if you watch, honestly, conversations I've had with all of those guys, you even watch their press conferences, which is usually where NFL coaches are at their most bland. like they're pretty colorful there too, And so I just think it's a different way. It's a different way of carrying yourself. It's a different way of connecting with players. It's a different way of handling yourself with the public. And it's probably a little bit more awareness too that, public sentiment is going to have an impact on your job security. And so if you're likable, if you've got good relationships with the media, that probably in the long run is going to wind up helping you, And so I think these guys are aware of all of that stuff, and that's why they come off that way. And, above all else, I think if there's one thing a football coach can't be, we've seen a lot of expatriates assistants get caught in this, you can't try to be somebody else. And I think with Sean and Kyle, you can really see they're authentically themselves when they're talking in that sort of forum.
Okay, so it got me thinking is that, you're, like you said, I mean, Belichick's old enough to be certainly like my dad if he had me young, and certainly young and old enough to be very comfortably had the McVay at an old age.
Right.
Like, so are these kids... Are the coaches at the college level, are the coaches at the high school level now more like the McVays and Shanahans? My point being that if I've been coached a certain way, high school, college, and then I get to the NFL, how is Belichick? Are they going to react to Belichick the same way players did 15 years ago?
And that's what's so interesting about it, because I do think that the way that Bill coaches is outdated and has been outdated for a little while now. But guys like Belichick, like Urban, like Saban, they're sort of grandfathered. You know what I mean? Like, so those guys have so many skins on the wall that, for a player, it's, I'm playing for a legend, and so I need to listen to him. But I think on the other end of it, what does end up happening too is, those programs wind up becoming self-selecting, where there are certain guys who don't want to play in those sorts of programs, so they avoid it. And I think those coaches actively avoid players that they know aren't going to fit. And, so I think that's sort of, there's like this self-selecting thing that's, and this is a bigger topic, of course, but I think it does affect like who they can bring in, who they can connect with, that sort of thing. And I think for Bill and for Urban and for Saban, like for all of those guys, like it works as long as it works, right? Like they're going to listen to you as long as you give them results. At the college level, that means get me ready for the NFL and compete for championships. In the NFL, more than anything else, it means you need to show me you can make me rich. And so, like guys who come in and play for Bill, if Bill can make them better and then they look at his record, they're going to respond to him. The minute he can't give them the same level of results, that's where it ends. But I don't think Bill's ability to actually coach on the field, like get the most out of guys on the field, like I don't think that's gone away.
All right, what does that mean for McDaniels, though? Because do you hire McDaniels now when he is at the foot of a coach who relies on his past success to use his coaching style? Do you take from the Belichick tree now? Because Patricia did it, and it was, I can't tell people how big a failure he was in Detroit. Yeah. I mean, it was a disaster. So do you take a chance at McDaniels again?
I think, like, from a coaching standpoint, Josh has everything, right? I think what Josh has to do now, and this is the challenge, and I think I think the Patricia situation in Detroit makes it even more of a challenge, but you have to prove to people somehow that you're not Bill, that you're going to be yourself, that, some of the mistakes that you made in Denver aren't going to be repeated again. And that's, for an assistant coach in the NFL, that's not an easy thing to do because you're not available to the media all that often. It's not like you're out there, a lot of it has to be based on their own relationships and people who have relationships with them communicating, hey, this guy isn't Bill. This guy isn't like going to try and, take the walls of Gillette Stadium and paint them a different color somewhere else and just leave everything else the same, And so that's a challenge for Josh, is Josh has to show, like, this next time, I'm going to be myself, and who I am is different than who Bill Belichick is.
So it would behoove Josh to act, to develop rapport with the media, basically.
And he has a rapport with the media. Like, I don't think that's, look, he was a head coach 10 years ago. Like, I do think he has a rapport with, a lot of people in the media, and, like, people cover the team, too. So, like, I don't think... I think Josh can do that. Like, I think Josh can show, like, this is Like I've grown up. I can be my own guy. If I'm in charge somewhere else now, it's not going to be the way it was. And I think he had proven that, to be honest, Fred. Like, and then the Colts thing happened, and what does everybody think then? Well, like you didn't want to leave you need the program to be a certain way to make it work, and so it makes everybody revert to what they may have thought of him after he got fired in Denver again. So that created a little bit of another hurdle for him. But I think Josh has everything you need to be a really great coach and head coach in the NFL. I don't know if the opportunities are going to be quite as plentiful as they were a few years ago, and obviously, I do think that what happened in Indianapolis has an impact on how some other teams look at him.
I'd be less likely to hire him as the Patriots coach after Belichick leaves, because essentially you're
hiring the same guy.
But unless you, so here's the thing. Unless you think he's Brian Flores, unless you think he's Mike Vrabel, right? Who those guys came through here. Those guys are very clearly themselves, right?
No, but would still be in New England, though, is the thing. Is you're saying that if he could be his own person and not bring the walls of Gillette somewhere else, but if he was in Gillette and he was under the still the legend of Bill and all that stuff, I mean, if I'm the Patriots, is that a fair position to put him in? Is that fair to the franchise?
I don't know. I'm not positive he'd want to be in that position, to be honest with you. I think, I don't know that would be ideal for him either. I think, you look at, if you're him, do you want to be the guy who succeeds Bill Belichick? Whoever has that job, whoever's next, that's impossible. Belichick didn't succeed the guy in New England, right? Belichick succeeded the guy who succeeded the guy, right? That was Bill didn't have the pressure of following Parcells. That was Pete Carroll. Mm-hmm. And Pete Carroll, by the way, if you look at his record, he was 3 games over 500 over 3 years. Now they backslid a little bit, it was more than that, wasn't it?
No, it was 3. It was 3. It was 3 years, and they got worse each year he was here.
They got worse each year, but they weren't horrible, right?
500.
And they made the playoffs twice.
Yeah, they were 500.
Right, and so, but Pete Carroll. What was Pete Carroll's biggest sin here? So he wasn't Parcells.
Yes, he was actually the polar opposite.
Right?
Yes.
Right. And so, I don't think anybody could argue that it was a lot easier for Belichick coming in here than it was for Carroll, because expectations were so much lower.
You made the comparison to Flores and Vrabel. Flores and Vrabel were themselves right from day one. They got that first job, and they have both succeeded. I think Flores is a success. McDaniels didn't have his own personality, failed miserably at Denver, and no one's really quite sure what he is. And I think that includes himself at this point. I don't think he knows what he is.
Yeah, and I think, honestly, I think Josh, if somebody gives him a second crack, I think he can be really, really good. Because I think he's got good ideas. I think he understands how to build a team. But again, the challenge for him, a lot of the challenge for him is public perception. And public perception is that a lot of guys who come out of here try to be Bill somewhere else, and you cannot be Bill Belichick anywhere else. There's no duplicating Belichick. He's got part of it for him is going to be convincing another team, and another team is going to set it up the way that he wants it set up, because that was part of the issue in Indianapolis, that he's going to come in and he's going to be his own man, and the second time around, he's going to handle himself differently than he did the first time around.
All right. Well, Bert, are you in line for the ferry?
Not yet. We're about to get in the car, though. I will. I'll text you guys some updates. How about that?
Yeah.
All right. Fantastic. As Bert dramatically tries to leave Nantucket.
Over under when he gets home.
Oh well, let's not do that to poor Bert. Well, Bert is he got up early.
Joe, at least text me. I know you're you're the odds maker over there. So just text me an over under, and I'll let you know if you want or not.
I got you.
All right. Bert Breer. There you go. Good luck. Good luck to Bert. Bert, as he dramatically tries to leave Nantucket Island.
No, but you made a good point. I mean, he's on the slow ferry. It's going to take him 2.5 hours to get back to Cape Cod from Nantucket, taking the ferry that he's trying to get on, and that ride is going to stink. That ride, 2.5 hours with 3 kids and a dog, is going to be awful.
See, the thing is, if he didn't bring the dog, he would have him. I don't know why he brought the dog. If you bring the dog, all you had to do yesterday is find a place to stay for one night, and then you're smooth sailing. Then you're just like, I'm in Nantucket for another night. Who cares? And then the next day you're on a ferry. So,
Yeah.
I mean, then you book the ferry that day. So you get your place for Saturday night, but you're still or for Friday night. It's still Thursday. So then you book the Sunday return, and everything's cooking with gas. But they got that mangy mutt. They got that dog. And what's funny is if they have nowhere to stay and they got to wait around, they can't really go far from the ferry. And he said his car was all jammed up.
I was just going to say, once you're on that long line to the ferry on standby, there's just no leaving.
No.
Nope.
And then I don't know about Nantucket, but certainly in Vineyard Haven, there is not a lot to do around the Vineyard Haven ferry.
Vineyard Haven, now, that doesn't matter during the day, but Vineyard Haven, is that still dry? I think it's still dry.
Well, it would matter during the day if you were with 3 young kids and a dog. It would matter if it was still dry.
Yeah.
Of course it would matter if it was still dry. You would have to, there's no anesthetizing yourself. You're there, you're present, it's all happening. That's why you got to go down to Newport, like me.
That's right. You're in the car on the way down today, correct?
That's right. Going down to Newport. Anywhere to eat?
Ooh, I can give you some. Yeah, I got to look them up. Actually, I met a guy who owns a little cafe in
Of course
Newport.
you did. Yeah.
I just got to get that name.
No, I know my way around that place.
I like Easton's Beach. It's a very nice beach over there.
See, if I'm with the little kids, I'm all about the what do you call it beach? Gooseberry Beach.
Oh, Goose. Yeah.
Gooseberry Beach has got a Caribbean feel to it. Nice rock formations. It's a little inlet. It's very nice. All right, here are the headlines.
The games are only half of it. Hutcher and Rich. 98.5, the Sports Hub.
This Sports Hub on-demand content is brought to you by Mass Golf. Join over 87,000 golfers in Massachusetts by becoming a member today. By joining, you'll get an official USGA handicap, which helps level the playing field. Learn more by visiting massgolf.org. The tee is yours.
They've got the insiders.
Jeffy, hello, sir.
Insiders.
Maybe you know something. I doubt it. No,
I don't know anything.
Toucher and Rich, 98.5, the Sports Hub.
All I wanna do is zoom, 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 and a boom, boom. All I wanna do is zoom, 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 and a boom, boom. All I wanna do is zoom, 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 and a boom.
Can you believe that this video was controversial at the time?
Was it really?
Oh, I love this song when it came out. Teddy Riley, baby.
Yep.
Because
the original Rump Shake.
It's a Wallach Wednesday on Friday because he was not here on Wednesday. And there's nothing that gets you through a storm like a little New Jack Swing. Because, again, if you lose power today or if you're stuck, I guess you couldn't hear us on Nantucket unless you're listening online. You could just, you and your buddies get together and learn dance steps.
But
just practice.
I may have shared this, but the Teddy Riley part, for a girl on Valentine's Day, I wrote her a Valentine that says, I like the way you comb your hair. I like the stylish clothes you wear. Just the little things you do that makes me want to get you. 5th grade.
Did she not know it was from, did you pass it off as your own?
Yeah.
How many times have I done that in my life? A million times.
What, quoted Teddy Riley and wrote it down?
No, but pretended that I was or I wrote the thing that someone else wrote while trying to impress a girl. Again, I put on the acoustic guitar part D off the Ozzy Osbourne tribute album, and would play it into the phone from a speaker and say that was me playing guitar, which, first of all, probably was pretty obvious to the girls it wasn't. And second of all, like, what were they going to do? Like, wow, like, now I have to, like, hook up with you. This is amazing. Like, I would just sit there like, huh?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm just, like, I'm a brooding artist over here and pretending a bunch of crap. John, you sent us something about how Patrick Mahomes hit a drive 340 yards, that he's going to be this long drive guy. And I was talking to this guy I know, and he's a trainer, and he's a younger guy, and he was talking about how, first of all, this guy, he'll just walk onto a golf course and, like, play with guys, which is, to me, insanity.
I grew up with a kid like that, by the way. I mean, he just, whatever he did, first time out, pow. He never played golf before.
I'm not talking about him being good. I'm talking about just the idea of going out and playing with other golfers. I'm talking about that he'll just, like, go to the golf course, get a tee time, and then be set up with like two other dudes that know each other. That to me is insanity.
That is crazy.
Like there's nothing. First of all, that would be like getting on a boat with like two other dudes and going, we're going to take a cruise for 5 hours and we're stuck together. I mean, you're just, and then they know each other and you don't know them. And then while you're on the boat, you have to do feats of skill, like juggling and stuff. So and then I got to thinking, why is that? Why is it? Because I wouldn't mind being with other people I didn't know. Like, I don't care about talking to them. Like, that doesn't bother me. But there is this pressure. I don't know what it is and what the deal with golf is, but there is this pressure that this idea that, like, if you're not playing well, you're dragging everyone else down. And while this guy was talking to me about it, because he does it out of necessity, he does it because he wants to play golf and he's got, no one else is around during the day when he can play. And I was thinking about it, I'm like, what does the person sucking at golf have to do with you? Like, if they suck, how is that ruining your time? Now, if the people in front of you suck and you have to wait before every shot, that's something. But if you're playing ready golf and the guy's not looking for his ball for 15 minutes every time he hits it, what the hell is it to you if the guy's any good? So what's the deal with that? Like, why has golf, it's almost made itself elitist in that, when I can play golf, and I belong to a stupid club that I haven't played golf at this year because I don't know that many people there, and I don't, but why should I have to feel pressure playing with other people? What's it to them? If all my shots go 5 feet, what is it to them? Why does that bother you? Why does that ruin your time so much? Go up to your own ball. Don't worry about me. I'll be right here. I'll be fine. You don't have to worry about me.
I've never really had to worry about that because I'm usually the worst of the people that I'm playing with.
But that's fine. But you have said yourself that you feel this intimidation when you go out. Like,
yes.
That to me, you might as well be from Mars. Like, there's this thing on the tee sheet that they have at my club where some people will say, join me. And then I think that's probably a good idea because then at least you'd meet somebody and, like, who knows, you might hit it off and play golf again. And then at least you'd have someone to play golf with. But I'm too afraid because my father put it into my mind. My father, I didn't know. I didn't have, my clubs were all his leftover clubs. I didn't know what the hell he was doing. He knew I never played golf. And then he would get bored in, like, Hilton Head and book us, like, on Harbor Town. And then they'd put us with two other guys. And my father the entire time would be, like, on the brink of crapping his pants. Just with it being tense and just, like, come on. Oh, and then, like, looking over his shoulder to see if the people are coming. Yeah. And I'm like, you obviously, this is hell to you.
Yeah.
Why are you having this?
There are two types of golfers. And by the way, just assume that the handicap is the same for everybody. Out of every 10 people who all have a handicap of, say, 25 or 30 like normal people, there are people who stand on ceremonies like, come on, you got to mark your ball over here. Go. And they want to make sure the pace of play is right. And those are the people that raise your stress level 8,000%.
And by the way, all these guys that are like at 12 handicaps, they're so good. They all go out and they're the same. They shank shots all over the place.
Yes. So assuming that everyone is the same, which, by the way, on any given course, on any given public course in this state, everyone basically is the same. If you go out there and you stand on ceremony and you want to make sure that, you don't play ready golf, the furthest away place, whatever it is, all right, Tiger Woods, you're in the middle of a round where you're going to shoot 95. I think you can ease off the accelerator a little bit.
95 is bold. All these guys shooting like, oh yeah, I broke 90. How? I watch everyone play. How? What are you doing? You're breaking 90. Now my father is 79. He goes, when I turn 80, I want to shoot my age. And then you go, well, that would be impossible. No. You should see where they let him tee off from.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Way up front?
Oh, baby. Oh, it's a ride.
From the Reds? Really?
Oh.
Okay.
Well, in Hilton Head, where my mom, because you'd say you were playing with two 79-year-old people. Well, they play all the time. And also, like, it was a good It was a good mile between where my father and I would tee off and where my mom would tee off. Like a par 5, like a 550-yard par 5 would turn it into like a 120-yard par 4.
No, that's the one. He's the guy you have to drive way up for. But just to my point, there are a minority of people that want to play with you if you are like that.
I just don't get it. I don't understand how it bothers people. Brian, go ahead.
What's up, guys? First of all, when it comes to golfing by yourself, there is no better feeling than when you get up there and you find out no one is with you.
Yes.
It's one of the most blissful things in the entire world. But I get what you're saying. It sucks when you got random people you don't know. The reason why, at least in my opinion, in my experience, that I get frustrated is that when you get paired with people, let's say they've gone out golfing for the first time in their entire life, and they're hitting the ball 5 or 10 feet forward, there's got to be some sort of.
That's one thing. Okay, that's. I'm talking about like how to play golf. I'm talking about like you're not dribbling it in front. That I get. That I get is frustrating. But I'm talking about like you're a 25 handicap that you're out there and you say I go out and I'm going to shoot 115. That's fine. Don't worry about me. I'm over here. Like I can listen, if I hit a drive right, I could hit a 250-yard drive. I mean, if I get lucky, it will be 2 out of the 18. But I mean, I can do it. Like I can birdie a hole. Like but there might be a hole where I shoot a 10.
Takes me an extra shot or two in the fairway. Yes.
Yeah. Well, there might be. You know what I'm saying?
I think more often than not, though, the people that are higher handicaps are going to be playing with somebody else because they are conscious of the fact that they're not better than everybody.
Yeah.
So you take that risk when you play by yourself. You have a 1 in 3 chance, say, to get paired up with at least one guy that's sort of tagging along because they need some sort of buffer or backup to not completely ruin it for someone else.
Right.
I think it would be completely irresponsible if you were a really high handicap and say you've only golfed 3 times to go out by yourself and to expect to bring someone else that you don't know that could be a very good golfer.
All right. But too many rules. By the way, my father was all about etiquette too. Like
that's exactly what I'm saying.
Stepping in someone's line,
can't cross over. You can't step. You got to step over the imaginary line on the green.
And my father would like flip out, like if I moved while someone was putting, like out of their eye line too.
I understand where your stress level comes from. You've talked about your father for a decade.
Putting green policy, like don't walk like in the guy's track.
Well, that's what the thing is. Don't walk in his line. And the thing is that like, what are you talking about? If these guys aren't playing for money, what and even if they are playing for money, me stepping in your line, that's gonna you're such a precision player that me like denting the grass with my foot, the weight of my foot is gonna throw off your mastery of reading the greens. Stop that nonsense.
Do you put divots back? Like
I do.
Yeah. I mean, on my course, I mean, I don't want to.
I put the divots back. I used a tool when my ball dents the green. The occasional time I actually hit the green.
Well, no, because that's an exercise in triumph. Is because you actually hit a shot that's stopped.
Do you pick up your tee after you hit it?
Well, I like my tees.
I do that too.
So
I pick up the tees.
Well, picking up your tee, I don't even think that's a rule. But the if you're doing a divot on the green, that's a sign that you hit a good shot. So you're like, all right, look
spend
at me.
a little extra time saying, see, look, I did this.
But the best thing about COVID, the only good thing about COVID was that they took away the stupid rakes and the sand trap. Because that was another maze to navigate with my father was the what are you doing? You got to take the shortest track to the ball. Like, what are you walking there for? Like, I don't know.
That's insane. In a trap, he's on you about that.
And then now you're allowed to ground your club though, because that was another thing when I first started in my club. You're not allowed to ground your club. Why do you care? I'm shooting. We're on the 16th hole, and I'm shooting 115. Like let me ground my club all day. But the whole raking the traps, that's stupid. They shouldn't make you do that. That's work. And what's the trap? What's the trap going to be? Move your ball then. Move it out of the footprint? Yeah. Or what's the difference between a footprint? Unless you're like again such a precision player,
you'll mat the sand down.
Good.
If someone lands in your footprint, he'll get a better shot out of there than he would have if it was rain.
You should want 1,000,000 footprints in the sand.
Either that or a rainstorm.
I mean,
flatten it out.
Do you sit there like really? I mean, come on. I mean, I'm supposed to sit there and like really rake.
I actually do that. I actually do rake traps.
No, I do. I rake traps with. I pick up the rake. I rake traps like I pick up my dog's crap. I wait until there's no cars around and walk away.
I may have been guilty of that too.
Yeah. You think I'm picking up a dog's crap?
Well, you don't use the little poop bag?
I'm not picking up a hot dump of some animal.
Wait. With a poop bag, though. You don't
With
realize.
a bag.
Oh, of course you realize it.
You stick your hand in the bag and you pick it up and close it.
And close it inside
feel
out.
the heat.
Yes,
you do
yes,
feel the heat.
It's disgusting.
You do feel the heat.
I make sure my dog doesn't go to the. Oh, I got a story for you guys about my dog. Oh boy, this idiot! All right, we got a couple things. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Toucher and Rich, 98.5 The Sport.
This Sports Hub On Demand content is brought to you by Coastal Heritage Bank. At Coastal Heritage Bank, they have the privilege of being a community bank, committed to enriching the lives of their neighbors, including helping customers become homeowners. Visit coastalheritagebank.com to learn about their comprehensive line of mortgage products, including their first-time homebuyer program. Coastal Heritage Bank, growing together. Member FDIC, member DIF, equal housing lender, NMLS number 45145.